Allow me to introduce myself. I am Tinashe Mujera. I'm an author, I'm a marketplace professional, and I'm a woman of God. I am a representation of tested faith. I represent my healed wounds that left ugly scars. This is the Faith in Action podcast that has been created to help you find the journey to your true self through conversations and lessons shared. Good day, everybody, and welcome again to the Faith in Action podcast with me, your host, Tinashe Mujera. As you all know, I am a woman of faith, and I am all about empowering women, bringing women's stories to the fore so that we can get, motivated, inspired, and we can do better and more as women. I'm super excited today because I am honored to have a special guest whom I've seen from afar and I've been mentored from afar by. Her name is Kovini, and before I say much, I'm going to welcome her. Kovini, welcome.
Thank you so much. I've been waiting all day to be here.
Oh my gosh.
And just lend my voice to your incredible platform.
Wow. Sis, thank you so much for honoring this platform. I do not take it for granted. And I am so excited to have you today. Guys, ladies, gentlemen, whoever is listening, whoever is watching, we have Kovini Moodley in the house. For those of you that know her already, you'd know that she is the founder of Boss Babes South Africa. We're going to unpack that and you tell us about Boss Babes South Africa. She is a woman who is passionate about women of color, activism, entrepreneurship. I mean, she's all about change. Change is not an easy subject to talk about. And we're going to unpack all of that with you today. Kovini, once again, welcome. I want to start this show by posing this. You wrote one day on LinkedIn and I reposted, anything you lose by speaking your truth isn't a loss. Yeah. It's alignment.
It's alignment.
Jeez.
It's alignment, yeah.
I stood up from my chair. I was like, what? Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think we are defined by society so often in our life, and we believe that when we lose something, it's a bad thing. We've been conditioned to kind of believe that this thing has left me. What am I going to do without it? At the core of who I am, when people often ask me who I am, is I'm a truth seeker. Wow. There is nothing I love more than to find the truth, to share it, and to live by those values. So for me, if you are speaking your truth, and I only believe there's one version of the truth.
That's right.
There's not your truth, my truth, what someone else. There is the truth.
Sure.
And when you are speaking the truth, and there's people that don't resonate with what you're saying or don't believe in what you're saying, then, those are not your people.
Yeah.
Those are people that are misaligned from your truth and your power and your soul.
Kovini, okay, I'm going to have to hold back my tears throughout this show because really this is deep. This is deep. You write God's instrument on your bio.
Yes.
That's the first opening.
Yes.
God's instrument.
Yes.
Please unpack that for us, sis.
Yes. I believe that we all have a very unique purpose. I talk about this a lot on my platform.
Yeah.
I really believe I am a vessel of God. I believe that I'm His instrument. I believe that when I get these downloads during meditation or when I get signs from the divine power, I don't believe that it's random. God is talking to me, and there's a very unique purpose for why I've been put on earth, what I'm here to do. And that's the reason why I start, irrespective if it's LinkedIn or Instagram, to say that I'm God's instrument. Wow. Because I think that just defines everything else that I do in my life.
Sure. I mean, a rare truth, and you spoke about truth, a rare truth on platforms such as LinkedIn. And I think when I met you, which was via LinkedIn, I'd seen you on Instagram but when I started following you on Instagram, on LinkedIn, I'm like, what voice is this? Who speaks about God on such a platform?
Right.
And I'm so inspired, sis. You're doing an amazing job. And I promise you, it's the marketplace that needs that voice more so now than ever before.
Thank you. And I think there isn't a place that we shouldn't speak about God, because I think this notion of, people are so afraid to post on LinkedIn because it's not professional. That's the first barrier that I want to break down. At the end of the day, we're human.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, there's some content you would not want to share on LinkedIn, but you're all human, and human emotion, human challenges, human fears is what LinkedIn needs to be having real conversations about.
That's right. Sure. Amazing, Kovini. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. I haven't even gotten into who you are for you to introduce yourself to us, because I'm sure I've left out a lot from the brief introduction I gave about you. Please tell us more about who you are and what you represent.
So other than God's instrument, I'm really passionate about anti-racism and being a voice for women of color, standing up and speaking about the challenges that women of color face. And that is me at my core. I'm very much an advocate or an activist. I like the word advocate a little bit more, but you guys know I'm really not one to shy away from when there's something topical happening in the world. That's what I share and that's what I speak about. Because I think that being relevant is one part, but also being true to what's happening. At the moment in the world, there are atrocities happening.
That's true.
And we can't just ignore that, especially on social media. We can't ignore that and just carry on with our perfectly highlighted reels. We've got to stop and use our platforms for good. And that's really what I've created around my brand, is to speak up and use my platform where there's a need to use it. And I think that for me is really just speaking to me, living my authentic self, being myself. And, in everything I do, I'm always asking myself, is this particular situation, are these particular people aligning to what I need to be here on earth?
Wow, Kovini. Oh my God. Wow. Amazing. I mean, you guys are hearing it for yourselves. I mean, this is so inspirational, and I'm really, really, honored to be having you speak again and bringing all of this insights and perspective, to us. Who is your role model and why?
I've got two, actually.
Wow.
I have followed Oprah's journey for the longest time. As a young child, that was something I would wait every single day to watch her show. There was just something about the way that she emotionally connects with people, and that resonates with me. And I also find, Michelle Obama iconic. I just think the both of them are such authentic women. They don't hide things. They don't candy floss things. They're just this epitome of authenticity.
That's right.
And I think they've also just through their, their speeches and the way they talk and who they talk to, that they have really encouraged me to be my bravest self, to not hide things away, to, put the fears out there, be vulnerable, and just, be honest to yourself, because you can't just, focus on certain elements of things, and there's other bigger things in the world that no one wants to talk about.
The unspoken things.
Thank you.
The truth, like you said.
Thank
and
you.
I mean, that's why we also, named this podcast, I'm going to name it Uncharted Territories, because that's exactly what you represent,
Absolutely.
Kovini. The things that people do not want to unpack. We need them out there so that people can be helped, because it's the truth and authenticity is all that can help people. Now, I'm going to talk about this aspect, women of color.
Yes.
Why women of color?
Because I'm a woman of color. You're a woman of color. My lived experience is to be a woman of color in South Africa.
Sure.
So I can't really speak on behalf of anyone else because it's not my lived experience. Unfortunately, throughout my life, I have experienced episodes that have made me stop and question who I am, question what's right, what isn't. We're now heading into 30 years of, a democracy. Right? And some of the things that I still see happening around me, happening in my mentorship, circles, happening in my friend circles, some of the things I've experienced personally, unfortunately, don't represent that we are heard and we are seen enough
again. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, initially when things are happening to you, I don't know if I was too young or I hadn't comprehended. You just think that a particular person, doesn't like you, or it's bad luck, or, you're trying to comprehend what is going on here. Because like I say, as a truth seeker, I almost feel things before people even say it. So I think for me, it was just about owning my own lived experiences, sharing it on my platform. And the biggest, I want to say, lesson that comes out of that is being able to turn my pain into power. Because I've recently started mentoring young professionals, and we've got a team of, people that support this whole process.
Wow.
And that's really where, I believe my purpose is now leading me towards this next chapter in my life. I simply cannot sit back and watch what is happening to women of color these days.
Yeah.
The stories that I come across, the stories that people tell me, the DMs that I get, are cries for help. And I believe that I've been given this platform and this huge voice that everyone believes in. And I really want to use it to start to drive awareness around anti-racism and respecting women of color.
That's right.
Treating us well.
Sure. We need more people like you, Kovini. Trust me, we need this. More so in Africa than ever before.
Yes.
We really need the voices that will advocate, like you said, for women of color.
Yes.
It is a real topic that is not spoken about enough. I want to talk about the marketplace and that related as well. I'm sure most of, the things on DMs you get and questions and messages is all about women in the career space and how they struggle to navigate through that world. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. And cross-industry.
Yeah.
We think it's a certain trend or a certain space. It is a cross-industry that women of color are just, not respected, not treated well. From what I see, there's probably this 1% of women of color that are treated really well.
That's right.
The rest, the 99%, are sort of left to fend for themselves, to figure out things for themselves.
Yeah.
And that is why, offering this mentorship that I'm now starting to do, I want to say it's very unique in terms of, current offerings that many people may have. It is focused on women of color. It is focused on my own journey. It is focused on what I've had to do in my life, the resources I've had to tap into to be respected, to be heard, to be taken seriously. Sometimes people look at you and have a perception of you. And I hate that. I hate that because we're intellectuals. We worked hard for where we need to be. So show a bit of respect for that. Don't stereotype women. Don't objectify women. The sexism, the patriarchy. It is just like this unspoken about pandemic. And that's really where I believe my purpose is leading me, to start to create this bigger hub of resources where I'm able to mentor these, young women, even not so young women that are struggling, but focusing on women of color. Because I believe that our challenges are very unique, especially in the South African context.
That's true. Wow, sis. Wow, Kovini. I mean, this is so exciting. I'm going to ask her to share more about this mentorship program and how she goes about it. If you need to apply and you're serious, she'll tell us all about that, and you can at least find your way onto that platform to get help. Now, I want to go into this next question. Tell us about a pivotal life moment or experience that shaped your life.
I think it was definitely firstly qualifying as a chartered accountant. I grew up in a small town, so there were a few CAs around me, but I never thought it would happen for me. Wow. I went to public schooling my entire life. So did my twin sisters. So we never had it all growing up, And I think when you make it through those type of environments, those type of communities, and you succeed and you become a CA, right? The first milestone. You just start to realize to yourself that how anything that you want is out there for you to go and get. And don't let anyone stop you. Don't let, people's perceptions of who you should be, what you should look like, what you should even speak like these days define you.
Yes.
I think when I qualified as a CA, I sort of inspired, I want to say, a generation after me. That within my community, were inspired to do the same thing because, hey, this person, didn't go to a private school, didn't have all the luxuries, but there she is now and she's working for Deloitte. So it really set, I want to say, that kind of stake in the ground to say, this is what can happen when you focus on being excellent and you have a vision for yourself.
That's right.
Because no one else will have a vision for you. Only
again.
you can have a vision for yourself.
And I mean, speaking of which, you do a lot of change work.
Yes.
Change work.
Yes.
That's deep, Kovini. And change is hard. And I mean, your story now is such an example of how you embrace change. This is who I am now.
Yes.
And I've qualified for it. You know what?
Yes.
My background doesn't define me. Tell us about some of the change work you've done and future of that.
So I'm very involved with SAICA, the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, as well as AWCA, African Women Chartered Accountants. So these are two platforms, almost communities, that are aimed at celebrating and, empowering young CAs, aspiring CAs, to aim to become CAs, to support them, to mentor them, to help them. So I lend a lot of my, I want to say spare time, even though I'm left with very little time. But the time that I do carve out is to be able to empower young women and also help them to dream, help them to believe, help them to, if it's, they're writing an exam and they're stressed, they're welcome to call me to have a chat. Because that's a way that we can all find a way to give back tangibly. With the SAICA, South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, I've also done a lot of work, building the brand for CAs, showing them that a CA just doesn't have to be about your job, right? Your 8 to 5. We are so much more than our jobs.
Sure.
Our jobs are very important, absolutely, but
I love it.
we are human beings. We have passions. We have things that we love. We are here to impact. And, if you can do that full impact during your 8 to 5 work and that fulfills you, that's great.
Yeah.
But there's some of us that just want to do more.
That's right.
Want to give more of ourselves, want to impact the world in a bigger way. So for me, those are the projects that I get involved in. And with this new mentorship, I think I'm also going to be bringing on clients that are going to be, wanting to support this greater vision in a more meaningful way.
Wow. Amazing, Kovini. You speak about a topic that is so dear to my heart, that yes, I have a 9 to 5, but that does not define me. My title and my job does not define me. I am more than the title of my job. And I think there's such a contradiction when you look at the corporate space versus us going into our passions, because your passion is your purpose, right?
Absolutely.
It's linked to your truth, which is your
Absolutely.
truth. So how do we find balance there? Because I find there's a lot of stereotype in the workspace for that.
Yes.
People have to hide who they are. I must hide that I've written a book. I must hide that I'm a podcaster, for example.
Yes.
I must hide that I do a lot of community work. Why is there such, especially for women, in the workspace?
Let me stop and ask you, why does it bother you?
Oh, wow.
Why does what other people think about you being a podcaster and author, why does that bother you?
Sure.
We should never be defined by what other people want us to be. Wow. When I started my journey on social media, it wasn't like I could just post and then the next day no one would see me. I'd have to post and I'd have to go to work and deal with the level of embarrassment, if I could use that word. Why is she posting on social media? Wow. Why is she talking about women of color? Wow. Why is she talking about racism? Because it's a taboo, Right. These are not things that women speak about. So I want to say the initial entry point of putting yourself out there is unfortunately going to come with judgment.
That's right.
And you need to discern for yourself whether those people who are judging you, whether they are worth your time.
Wow.
Because there are always going to be naysayers. And right till this day, as I sit here today, there are people that stalk me on social media. And try and create a perception of who I am. And I think for me, when you put yourself out there, you're going to get that.
That's right.
But what is most important is to know who you are. Know what you're about. And when you're following, your North Star or your purpose or whatever you call it, your God's guidance, You're doing your work excellent.
That's right.
Beyond that, we're all human beings. We don't owe 24 hours of our lives to other people.
Oh, yes. Love it. I love it. I love you. I'm loving this conversation. Thank you. And thank you for that question. Why am I bothered? I never stopped to think about that because I shouldn't be.
Are you doing something wrong? No.
Wow.
Yeah, sure, you're being stalked and you're being judged, but that's all of us.
That's right. Sure. Thank you, sis. And I mean, for someone watching and listening again, there you go. There you have it. Wow. Wow, Kovini. Now, what does success mean to you, or what does success look like to you?
You know, success for me has evolved through the years. In the beginning, I was very much a people pleaser when I started my career, and that was success. Someone would give me a tap on the back, they'd smile, they'd give me a bit of recognition. But I think as you mature in the world, you start to define success by, firstly, what brings you joy and contentment. And secondly, the impact that you're making to others' lives. Because that's success.
Wow.
That is the definition of success. You're able to just not succeed for yourself, but you're able to turn around and help those upwards. Lend a helping hand, speak to someone, be a mentor to someone, just be there for someone. And it doesn't have to be on this huge public platform like I'm doing. It could be your neighbor, it could be your friend, it could be people that report to you at work, you know? This notion of, you know, you've got to do things on a huge scale, it stops people from just doing the little things.
That's right.
And just impacting. Think about who can I impact every single day.
Wow. You're absolutely right when you talk about, you know, the big platforms, because, you know, when we talk change and we talk doing good, people often want to, I don't have money to buy 50 pairs of shoes to give to an orphanage.
Yes.
But a kind word, giving people your time, showing love. Amazing.
It's not always about dishing out money.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just sometimes you just need to be there for people and be there authentically.
That's right. That word, authentically. And that's why I resonate with you so much. It's the authenticity, and I absolutely love that. Now, we talk about people, you talk about mentorship, you talk about, you know, the work you do. There's obviously people involved in that work. And this takes me to this next question about challenges you faced on the journey. And I mean, working with people, sis, I've found that quite... the lot. Like, it's a lot. Now, take us through some of the challenges you face, more so regarding people and how you've navigated through those.
Look, I want to start by saying that we're all here for a very different purpose on earth. And when we understand that every single soul that you come into contact for is also not random, you know? That annoying person or someone who's just there to be there to irritate your soul and irritate your well-being. You know, we need to understand that we are here for a unique purpose. And challenges are unfortunately part of life. You are never going to go through life where everything just works out. It's one after the next of everything amazing that happens to you. It's important to know that challenges, as difficult as it is when you're going through it, that it is there to push you towards your highest purpose. It's there to push you towards growth. And, you know, when I recently started to look at things like that, in terms of I accept the challenges and I'm going to work through it. And if I can't work through it, I'm going to ask for help.
That's it.
Because I think we've even forgot about that. As women of color, there's this need to be strong, to be, strong Black woman. We need to always be smiling in the spaces that we find ourselves. We're not allowed to show emotion. And I think, you know, going through challenges, you start to actually realize also what is worth your time. What should I be fighting? Because you can't fight everything. You know the challenges that happen every single day. There's no way you can say, today I've got, 10 different people coming at me and I'm going to, respond to all of them.
That's right.
Pick your battles and just also know that challenges are part of life. And, also if you're not coping with your challenges, a very important part to that is it is going to impact your mental health.
That's right.
It is going to make you sick.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important to, protect our peace and not attend every single fight, every single debate that we're invited to, because I feel like some days it just comes at you. It still comes at me. And I've just got to find a way of saying, Kovini, today you don't have time for this.
That's
and
right.
go focus on your goals, your purpose, and something that brings you joy.
Choosing your battles.
Pick your battles. We can't fight everything.
Say
And I
that
think as
again.
women of color, we know how much there is to fight.
That's it.
We are fighting every single day. We are exhausted from fighting, from saying the same things, from begging people to recognize us, to see us, to pay us our worth. We're tired.
Oh, say that again. Oh, I'm resonating with this so much. I feel like you're just here to coach and mentor me and just say, hey, wake up, and thank you for that. Now, you have studied to be a CA, but you also started this amazing platform, Boss Babes South Africa. It's almost like what I do, marketing. It's branding. You teach people about the digital world. How do those two worlds, come together for you? How did you manage to, because most CAs are not marketers. I found that too. It's a fact. It's we can't even debate about it.
Yeah.
All they'll ask you is, what do you want money for? Now, but you bring this beautiful combination that is quite rare. Yeah. Now, how did you transition? Not really transition, but how did you manage to merge the two?
I believe that in our life, there are different things that we do every day that bring us different levels of joy. Being a CA for me is important because I'm able to inspire and be a role model to others. And because I've worked for such leading companies, I also get to transform the spaces that I work in. I'm speaking up about real issues. I'm trying to work through certain challenges. And I'm leaving organizations better than I started with it. And that's very close to my own purpose and what I do with Boss Babes of South Africa. So for me, it's a common purpose of transformation, of impact, of making things, enhancing things, both from a CA, a risk and audit perspective, and as well as, all the other ventures that I do in terms of mentoring, in terms of Boss Babes of South Africa. So I think that's important as well, that, it will never be disparate. It'll never be here and there.
Wow.
There's always a common link that brings you together because you are one person at the end of the day. You have one soul.
Oh, wow.
And what that soul wants to do will be different, avenues.
Yeah.
It will use different channels to achieve that sense of contentment.
I love it. I used to think I have a problem or there's something wrong with me because I'll
Tell
do
me.
this and I'll do that, sis, and I find myself passionate about. And I'm like, but why am I doing so many things? Other people just do one thing. And I needed to come to a realization that I'm uniquely me. And like you say now, the soul wants what it
The
wants.
soul will never ask you to do something that it doesn't want to do. Ever. Creating Boss Babes is a soul calling. Being an activist for women of color, for me, is a soul calling.
That's right.
And if someone else is getting their soul calling from their 8 to 5, good on them.
Yeah.
All respect.
Yeah.
We all are not meant to be carbon copies of each other. And I think when we realize that, CA, non-CA, whatever profession you're in, I think it's so important to understand that our soul is here to experience something unique.
That's right.
And if you don't give it what it wants, that's sort of where you start to get very depressed, very sad. You feel like no matter what you're doing in life, it's not bringing you that contentment. And they actually refer to that in a spiritual sense as soul loss. So it means your soul has come looking for something here on earth and you're not giving it what it needs. And if someone is, fulfilling their full purpose and soul with their 8 to 5, great, good for them. No judgment, I think is the point. No judgment.
Yeah.
If you can do that there and you're so happy and content, that's awesome. But don't look at me and judge me.
That's it.
Don't look at me and say, oh, but why she? Don't do that. Focus on your own life and your own purpose. And I believe that is what will drive human satisfaction.
Sure. I love it. And balance to the world.
Absolutely.
As a whole.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, speaking of balance and all this that you do, how do you find balance?
I love spending time in nature. That's the first thing. I love animals and I just feel that they have such a unique energy to them. And I think it's also important for me to take regular breaks because I'm doing all these different activities, giving a lot of myself to the world, which I want to do and which I enjoy doing. But I think I've also become very alert to the fact that when I'm not feeling my best, that I need to take a break, or I need to speak to a therapist, or I need to do something to improve my mental health. And it's also something that I have not been shy about speaking up about. I think there's such a stigma around us, especially as women of color. If you say mental health,
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
she's weak, she can't handle it. Can you handle it? You get called into a meeting like, are you able to handle it? Can you cope? But no one else gets asked those kind of questions, right?
Sure.
So I think for me, there's an openness that needs to come when we talk about mental health. And knowing when I'm not okay is part of that.
Wow.
When I don't feel incredible like the way I should, then I know it's time for a reset. I know it's time for a change of situation, or just getting the help that I need.
Wow.
No one is expected to, live the lives we live, challenging lives, and just be okay. And I think the world has also conditioned us to say, you must just like suck it up.
That's right.
How many times have we been told,
That's right.
suck it up and keep going?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Keep working. If you're doing two people's job, good for you. Keep going.
You mentioned so many deep aspects and real aspects that women are going through, and people in general, to be honest, especially in the workspace.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you for those insights. I'll leave it there and let the people, digest it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get into this next question, and it's about, self-awareness and self-reflection. Can you discuss the importance of that in your personal and professional growth?
I think self-awareness and self-reflection, for me, I started my corporate journey almost 15 years ago. I started at Deloitte in Durban. It was incredible. Then I moved to Accenture in Johannesburg. It was also fantastic. And I'm currently working for another leading JSE company at this point.
Nice.
But I think what's important there is just that, self-awareness comes from, in order for you to be self-aware, you first need to know who you are. And a lot of people miss that. Because self-awareness is not someone else telling you something about you. Because I find that happens too often these days, be it a stereotype or a construct of white supremacy, I'm not really sure. But people will tell you who you are and expect you to nod accordingly and say, yes, I take that and I take that to my heart wholly. But I think the big part about this is to just firstly spend time knowing who you are. Reflect on who you are, not who someone told you need to be. And I think that's where it starts, because when you know who you are, when people start to criticize you or they start to say nasty things to you, you're able to say, hey, hold the phone. That's not me. I know who I am and this is what I stand for. This is why I raise that particular issue. This is the way I feel about the way you've spoken to me. And I think with that also comes self-confidence. It's not easy to speak up when you need to, or be self-aware and, have all of the self-belief. It stems from being confident in who you are.
That's it.
And only you can do that again.
Only you can
It's a 10-year journey for me.
Sure.
I came up to Johannesburg. I was a shy, 25-year-old, and too scared to speak, too scared to open my mouth in meetings. Most of the words that they would use sometimes in those meetings, I have never heard in my life. I would be Googling what certain big words meant on the table so that if they ask me, I may have an idea. So I think for me, it's just been a journey of learning.
Wow.
And getting around the right people, speaking to the right people, surrounding myself with great mentors, with coaches, and becoming better at who I am, so that no one can turn around someday and decide who they think I am or who they want me to be.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Sis, thank you for those insights. So insightful, and the perspective you bring, the depth you bring into that. I mean, I was talking about this not so long ago, the who are you aspect. And often, and with women particularly, we want to attach ourselves to the titles we carry. Or I am a teacher, or I am a mother, or I am a wife, or I am this. But who are you? A lot of people can't answer that. Because that is linked to your purpose again, your North Star, your true North rather, or your truth, like you said.
Yes.
I love that word, your truth. So if you cannot define that for yourself, surely the world is always ready to define you to you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely love what
They
you
will
brought
give you,
into that space.
if you don't know your worth, they'll define it for you. They'll give you a number.
They'll give you a number, just like they give us numbers in the workspace.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask, almost the last questions here, sis. I've kept you long, but I'm enjoying this conversation. I believe
Absolutely.
somebody is really getting helped right now. Gratitude.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What role does that play in your life? And how do you cultivate a sense of gratitude amidst challenges and setbacks?
I, grew up in a family with a lot of love, a community with a lot of love, and it was the small things that mattered. It was people cooking my favorite meal and popping across the wall on my birthday, making handmade cards, roller skating on the road. That's the environment that I grew up in. And I think from humble beginnings, you always maintain a sense of gratitude, a sense of humility, being humble. And I think for me, that's just been something that I've carried with me throughout my career, right until the point that I am right now. We can never forget where we're from. We can choose to become better, we can choose to be worse, but we can never forget the core of who we are and where we're from. And people think gratitude is just being grateful for the good things. And I think as you get older, you start to realize you're grateful for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because all of that is what drives your purpose. I've had an ugly year in 2023. It's been pretty nasty. I will share my story at a later stage, but all I can say is that now when I look back, I understand why that had to happen. But when I was going through it, no one could console me. No one could tell me anything that I would believe. So it is the good, bad, and ugly that shape us to who we're meant to be.
Kov, are you here to get me today? Looks like they sent you for me. Oh my word. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you for that truth. I love the word truth. You just brought some light to it for me. I think in closing, and now that we've received all of this wisdom from Kov, we need to let her go. So I'm going to ask her to just share, I think, two things, the mentorship platform and how it works, one, and secondly, just the last words of advice for a young woman out there who's struggling. Life is hard, Kov. It's been hard. It's been hard. I mean, a young woman listening, a mother, a sister, a career woman, someone needs some motivation. And I think this conversation really has sparked a lot. What would be your last words for them?
Absolutely. I'm just going to start with the mentorship part first. I've been doing it now for a month unofficially.
Nice.
And I've just recently announced that I want to do it more formally. Just to be able to build my brand, build a bit of income as well for myself. And the way it works is you send us a direct message on Boss Babes of South Africa or the page that we've created, k.m mentors. And, we'll be able to give you the next available slot. We meet on Teams, we have a conversation. And, I'll be able to get a sense of what type of guidance you need and leverage the necessary experts in terms of your particular case. But I think I'm just being almost a channel at this point to see the sense of how many women are going to actually need this type of support and help, because it can be lonely.
Yeah.
You're going through something challenging, you go into a shell, you don't want to speak about it. And I don't want that. I don't want people to be forced out of their jobs, to be fearful and be forced to leave their job. I don't want that.
Sure.
Our ancestors would not be proud of us to walk into these huge doors and then, not being treated well and then decide, oh, now I've got no option, I've got to leave. But there are tools and there are resources, and that's what I would like through my platform to bring together those resources to support you. Because I think money makes the world go round. And if you've got that job, you want to hold on to it, but you also want to become strategic in terms of the way that you handle certain situations, and don't be pushed out. That's my advice. Don't allow anyone to push you out. There's a space that you need to leave. You need to leave on your own terms.
Sure.
No one's going to push you, bully, harass you. We're in 2024 now. There's a lot of things that we shouldn't be having conversations about, but we are.
That's right.
Unfortunately, we are. So the mentoring is a big part of what I'll be doing this year, as well as Boss Empower, which is digital masterclasses. So if you're a small business, if you're a personal brand, you're looking to grow your platform, we're doing masterclasses that happen every Saturday at 12 o'clock. It's a 1-hour masterclass. So you can sign up for that. And you'll walk away with the knowledge of being able to grow your own brand, to build your own brand, to, not message me and say, how can I grow? This will teach you exactly what you need to do. And then you will take the advice and you will start to utilize it yourself.
Wow.
And the last offering we have is to go live on Boss Babes of South Africa. We've got a great special happening for this particular month. And going live is going to expose your brand, your personal brand, your business to our entire community of 32,000 followers. Wow. So it is great return on investment. It's going to give you great exposure. Right. And those are the three main buckets that we will be, offering our community this year to support them both from a professional perspective, a social media perspective, and then going live from a brand awareness perspective.
Wow. You've heard it for yourself. The last words.
Yes, the last words. The last words is that it's cliche. Everyone's heard this before. But literally do not dim your light to make others comfortable. We do that too often. Sure. We do that all the time. What's this person going to think of me? If I show up as my best self, if I decide to wear that pretty suit, this person Karen is going to look at me and say, why are you dressed like that? Show up as your authentic self, guys, and don't allow anyone. There's a light inside of each of us. And if that light is dim, if you're listening to this and your light has been dimmed, this is your chance, this is your wake-up call, this is your whistle. Wow. To, unleash that light inside of you. Leave the opinions of others. Leave the noise behind. There will always be noise. Even today, while I sit here and get lots of positive feedback, I'll get one person that will send me something that will upset me. So there's always going to be someone or something or some person that doesn't believe that you are where you need to be or where you are. Let me say that again. There is someone that believes that you should not be where you are.
That's right.
And God puts us where we need to be. There's no one else that can put you in a space that God has created for you. So if you're in a particular position, power, whatever it is, and you're not feeling it, just realize that you're there for a purpose. And maybe you need a little bit more time in that environment to figure out why have I been placed in this space? Because I promise you it's not random.
Sure, Kov. Oh my God. This was such an interesting, a powerful, inspirational, motivational, talk and chat. And I really, really just want to say once again, thank you for honoring the Faith in Action podcast and platform. We're really honored to have you today. And thank you for the wisdom that you just poured, your heart.
Thank you.
The wisdom you carry is, I don't know, it's beyond... I don't even want to say your age because it's timeless. It's real. So thank you for pouring your heart and sharing your wisdom with us. We do not take it for granted, sis.
Thank you.
Ladies, gentlemen, whoever is listening, whoever is watching, thank you once again for tuning into the Faith in Action podcast. We were today with Kovini Moodley, and we were talking about Uncharted Territories. You heard it for yourselves, and she has shared how to get a hold of her, especially for the mentorship program. I will also share details once I post the podcast so that you guys can be able to contact her directly and get in touch and get some help. Do not die in your own corner. She said it is 2024. Some things just gotta die. With me, your host, Tinashe Majera. It's the Faith in Action podcast. Until we meet again, thank you for tuning in.